Hey guys, this is Undercover Dudes, all the way from Down Under, and today we're looking at the top 10 free-to-play browser first-person shooters for 2019 and beyond. The last time I did this list was back in 2017 and a ton has changed, so make sure to like and subscribe to keep updated about free-to-play games. While I wouldn't call Rebel Forces a good browser FPS game, it is definitely over the top and chaotic. While it does have a campaign section, the main draw of Rebel Forces is hopping into the multiplayer and moon jumping around a map with an RPG. It's ridiculous fun zooming around a map and blowing each other up, and while the mechanics are stiff, the graphics are bad and the servers are laggy, Rebel Forces is still a decent amount of fun, at least for 5 minutes or so. With Minecraft graphics, Warbrokers on the surface seems like a shameless ripoff. However, with decent combat and an in-depth Battle Royale mode, there's more to this game than meets the eye. Warbrokers, like many IO games, has simplistic graphics that makes it extremely easy to run on any PC, a big plus for the browser genre. And while the gameplay may be average at best, there is a decent amount of content to check out. However, the big problem with this game is the inconsistent servers. Even when connecting to the Australian server as an Australian player, I was getting random lag spikes left, right and centre. I'm unsure if this is a problem on my end or theirs, so please tell me in the comments section below if you're a Warbrokers fan. Cartoon Strike is another one of those games that looks pretty bad but actually plays out to be really fun. With blocky, bright and colourful graphics, Cartoon Strike looks like a game straight out of the Minecraft universe, however the gameplay is much more in line with an arcade shooter. With a CSGO-like weapon buy system, Cartoon Strike is as simple as hop in, choose your gun and have fun, but with a twist. Because the heads of the characters are so big, headshots are super easy, but because the servers are so laggy, you need to go mag dump someone right in the head before you know that they're dead. It sounds really awful, but it's actually a decent amount of fun with these ridiculous looking characters running around the maps and people just dying left, right and center. It's especially fun if you're using the sniper rifle because headshots are super easy, and overall it's a mess but a fun one, so go and check it out if you're interested in this type of thing. With a basic sci-fi theme, Warmerise Red vs Blue is your stock standard browser FPS. With a few guns and some varied maps, there is some content. However, the actual gameplay is just okay, but quite responsive. It was running really nice on my computer and there wasn't any lag. On top of that though, the game is actually quite active, with there being matches available all hours of the day. Perfect if you want to hop on and have a quick match. Now there's nothing particularly outstanding about Warmerise, but nothing particularly awful, and that's why it's getting the number 7 spot. Personally, I feel that Global Strike is the star of the browser shooters in this list that are worth checking out. The previous games are fun and all, but they have fundamental problems or are just straight out average. But with Global Strike, it's a solid but unoriginal first-person shooter. If you've ever played Crossfire before, Global Strike is a ripoff of that game, but worse. And with that said, Crossfire is a ripoff of Counter-Strike 1.6, so you can see what we're getting at. So with that said, the gunplay in Global Strike, it's fine. It's 1.6, it's Crossfire, it's basically that type of mechanic. Very stiff, very staticky, but it works fine. The maps go and rip off Counter-Strike, the Dust 2 is plastered everywhere. There's quite a few modes which is good, but overall it's an okay to fine experience, and the thing that's really buffing it up is the amount of content in the game. Now similarly to Crossfire, this game is full of pay to win, so please be careful about that. However, on the positive side, the player base is actually quite active, and that's great because the game has been around for quite a long time. I covered it in my 2017 list and it was around for many years before that as well. In my opinion, Rush Team is a bit of a hidden gem. The game's movement is surprisingly fluid for a browser title, and the gun mechanics aren't half bad either. While generally the mode you'll be playing is Team Deathmatch, the maps actually have some detail with multiple paths, adding the smooth combat, and it's quite a fun experience. Most importantly though, the game is smooth to run with high FPS being easily hit, and the servers are really good with hit registration being quite solid. This is a perfectly playable browser FPS, and if you want a game that goes more down the Call of Duty route, Rush Team is a decent one to try. Superhot is one of the most unique shooters out there. The concept is simple. When you move, time goes at normal speed. Stop moving and time freezes. adding guns, bad guys, and a weird plot, and you have a recipe for an amazing game. Now I know some of you might be thinking, but hey UCD, Superhot is a Steam game, and you would be right. However, there is a prototype online that is playable in the browser, and it's an official version that they made during like a gameathon. While the prototype only includes a few levels, hence the reason it's not higher on this list, the gameplay is still very much the same as the Steam version of Superhot, and is great if you want to go and kill about 10 minutes or so. Every time I talk about browser FPS games, one game always comes up, and that's Wolfenstein 3D. This game is probably way past the generation of a lot of you guys watching this video, but Wolf 3D is basically the first true first-person shooter and is what I grew up on. The game set up the path for Doom, Quake, GoldenEye 007, and the rest is history. Without this game, FPSs wouldn't be as we know it. The concept is really simple, the gunplay is satisfying, and the map design is beautiful. Going from floor to floor shooting enemies does not get old, and trying to find all the secret weapons is addicting. Now while the game was originally released in 1992, that's 4 years before I was born, it's still playable today through online emulators, and I highly suggest checking it out if you want to try a slice of first person shooter history. Bullet Force is Call of Duty through and through, and it does a damn good job of pulling it off. Fast-paced combat mixed with kill streaks and tons of weapons, Bullet Force is an extremely solid first-person shooter in the browser. The best part about this game is the movement and gunplay. Your character actually has a realistic feel to it, and the guns kick a little bit with recoil. On top of that, we've got hit markers, and it just adds to the satisfaction of firing that gun and getting kills. While the maps are basic, there is a decent pool of modes, with my personal favourite being Gun Game, as you get to sample many of the different weapons in the game. And the thing is, when you go from one gun game match to another, you're not going to be playing with the same weapons, they're different weapons between matches, which is really sweet. On top of all of this, the user interface is basic but works really well, and there's also weapon customization where you can go and change the scope and the muzzle, which is quite sweet. And this all sums up to a really solid experience, and Bullet Force, it's quite a decent game. I've played it before in a video, I'll link it in the description below, and I had a genuinely really fun time trying this out. Is it something I'd play every day? No, but hopping in once in a while, yeah, you know, I could have some fun with it. Now before we move on to my honorable mentions and my number one spot, I wanted to touch on some games that are not included in this list because I know some people in the comment section below that can be like, why didn't you include this game, why didn't you include that? Let me explain. The first two games I want to talk about is Red Crucible Firestorm and Red Crucible Reloaded. Both of these games are now on Steam and sadly not in the browser, which is a bit of a shame. I think there is a client that you can run online or whatever, but you have to go and download it, and downloading anything violates the rules of this list. The second game is BeGone. It simply doesn't work anymore, the developers abandoned it, and it's really sad because this was Counter-Strike in the browser. It had really fast time to kills, it was a bit more tactical, a bit more slow paced, it had the buy system, it had the round based mode, it had everything. It was really cool, but you know, it's a shame that it's gone. Really big shame. Our third game is Critical Ops. It used to be on the browser, but now it's mobile only, be it Android, iPad, or iPhone, so that's a bit of a shame. And our fourth game is Contract War, and man, this was the #1 browser first-person shooter for so long, and then they decided to go and make it client only, and then they did a spawn-off game called Hired Ops. It's all a mess. Man, Contract War was so good. And the fact you have to download it now to play it, it just got rid of the convenience factor, and it's a very big shame. Now let's move on to our honorable mention today, and that's Crazy Pixel Apocalypse, because this game is just so, it's just, I don't know. I don't know if this game is meant to be bad, like deliberately meant to be bad, or if it's just bad. But this game is so over the top, so chaotic, that it had to be at least mentioned in this video. Now, will I ever play this game again? No, but I know at least one of you guys would want to go and play this game, and the reason why I know is because people are actually playing this game. The game is, I wouldn't call it active, but there's at least 1 or 2 rooms at all times, so people are playing it for some reason. So if you like this, go and try it out. Links in the description below. I don't know. Now coming in at the #1 spot, we have Krunker.io. Not only my favorite browser first person shooter right now, but my favorite first person shooter right now, period. I won't talk long about this game as I have 20 plus videos on it already, playlist link in the description below by the way, but Krunker is the perfect fusion of so many first person shooter concepts. The bunny hopping and insane speed reminds me of Quake, the classes remind me of Battlefield, the gunplay reminds me of Call of Duty, but Krunker never straight up copies these concepts and instead transforms them into something unique and straight up addicting. The gameplay experience in my opinion is one of the best in the genre, and then add in the extensive custom server support, big focus on competitive leagues, and amazing developers. Krunker really is the full package. People may say I'm exaggerating, but this game really is this good. So make sure to go and check it out. Links for all these games will be in the description below. And no, I'm not sponsored to go and talk good about Krunker. I just really like this game. And that's why it's taken out the #1 spot. So with that said, if you guys enjoyed this video, make sure to go and subscribe for more free to play content. But other than that, it's Undercover Dudes all the way from down under, out.